Hey, can everybody grab a seat? We're going to start recording. Eric, that means you. Okay, we're recording. Everybody grab a seat. Hey, I want to welcome everybody to the May meeting of the Cowcatcher Division. Our clinic today is a continuation of the freight shed clinic. Duane is here and he'll lead us through the construction or how to finish out the doors and trim and roof part of the kit. As always, I want to thank Texas Western for allowing us to meet here. And David, do you have any announcements?
Sure. First of all, welcome to the Texas Western. We're glad you're here. On the table on the north wall, I found this after last month's meeting. It looks like deck and bracing for a kit. Did somebody leave this on the table over there on the north wall? It looks like what would become a dock as well as the leg bracing and underneath. Anybody missing that? Okay. Duane, I'm going to give this to you in case somebody claims it that's not here later on. It looks like bracing and a deck, and it was found on the table on the north wall over there.
Oh, that's one of the kids from last fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody's missed it.
Okay.
So anyway, welcome. We're glad you're here, and no other announcements.
Okay, what about the Zoom people? People join us on Zoom. Who do we have? I think Betty is there. Betty Mitchell, welcome. I guess that's it. Okay, well, hey, Betty, thanks for joining. Do we have any new members or guests joining us today, visiting? Please stand up and tell us your name and what you model in and a little bit about yourself.
Howdy, I'm Shelby Danover. I model in scale. In the planning stages of a Denver and Rio Grande based layout right now.
Shelby, welcome.
Where do you live?
Oh, Justin.
In Justin. Okay.
Yeah, I'm part of the Denton Area Model Router Club.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so you know David Grine and Jim Davis and all those characters, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, good. David Grine, speaking of David Grine, how about a treasurer's report since you've been gone for the last 3 months? Do we have any money in the bank?
Not since that cruise.
Please use a microphone so we can hear you. He kind of forgot his way around the room too, I think.
All right,
You've been gone too long when?
you guys managed not to spend all the money, thank you. The opening balance on April 1st was $99,320, expenditures of $1,903, income of $611, leaving an ending balance of $8,029. The CD balance currently is $23,013. And I think that rolled over
Yes, it did.
in April.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, okay. I'll check with him.
Nice.
So that's that.
Okay, and we have one other announcement we'd like to make. The board of directors met, and we agreed that we're going to make a $500 donation to Texas Western.
Well, thank you.
So, David, you have the check, and
I have the check.
give it to Mr. Crumpton.
Thank you, Division One.
Oh, but you're supposed to have one of those great big stupid cardboard checks.
Thank you, sir.
Well, we have a connection.
Thank you, Division One.
Yeah.
Very much.
That's my favorite.
Okay. David, now we can continue your trip.
Okay, you're very welcome. Thanks for everything you help us do and make Division One successful, as well as Texas Western. We make a good partnership.
I agree.
Okay, so some upcoming events in the area that I wanted to just highlight. We've got the Jefferson swap meet that's coming up next Saturday. Once again, if you get a chance, that's a great place to go and visit and spend the weekend at. Then, of course, the Blues Express is coming up at the end of July and, or end of June, excuse me. And Eric, you want to talk some more about that?
Absolutely. Okay. Raise your hand if you are going to the Blues Express. Oh, that's pretty good. All right. But we need more. All right. The early registration deadline is this week on the 15th. So you need to get your reservation in on the website for the Blues Express. Also, that's when the cutoff date is for the hotel room reduced rate. So you need to get everything in to get that ready. All right, and we want you to come. And I'm going to give you some more reasons why. Okay, first off, for Duane and my clinic, there's limited seating. Okay, so it's first come, first serve. So if you want to come in, Duane's going to be going back through this speeder shed again, and I'll be teaching a class on how to use Autodesk Fusion to draw elements. It's just an introduction class to the 3D CAD package. And at the end of it, you will have designed up and drawn in the 3D CAD package a HO scale gondola. It's a combination gondola that has wood sides and metal frame and everything. And you can export that and 3D print it. Okay, the clinic schedule, I really want to stress the clinic schedule. We've got 31 clinics. Hopefully you all got emails from me on the different clinics. We have people coming as far away from Atlanta to teach these clinics. So please come just for the clinics alone. And that's just not just that's just the tip of the iceberg. Come and see friends from other other divisions, and maybe make some new ones. There's also the non-rails program, which I sent an email, or I put in the marker lamp last fall about different things to go and see around the Baton Rouge area. So that will be something that hopefully you'll really like. But here's one that maybe you didn't know about. They're going to be teaching a clinic on tournament poker. Okay, from some people that have actually played in national poker tournaments. So, it actually won money. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's something that you may not even have known was happening.
Did you guys know that here that the playing cards are actually in HO scale?
Yeah,
and
that's
some
what
are in
Duane said.
N
He
scale?
said the cards are in HO scale. Okay, there's also some other model railroads there to operate on. So please come and sign up for the operating on the model railroads. Okay, and I've stressed this in almost every email you've received. The Cajun Creole food. Okay, you can't beat eating Cajun food. It's just all there. Okay. There's another notice that I need to let you know about the contest room. So if you are interested in the contest room at the convention, it's on the second floor. There's no elevator to the second floor. So if you're taking stuff to the contest room, Russell, if it's that giant bridge, be aware you're going to have to haul it up the stairs. So, okay. There's a couple other things that I really want to let you know about. If you are going, when you check in, pay for the breakfast ticket then. Because the breakfast ticket, if you pay when you check in and they give you a coupon, it's $10. And so that will actually handle you, and if you have somebody with you, you get 2 people for that. Otherwise, it's $20 for the breakfast. So it's a half off for the breakfast. So when you check in, go ahead and get your reduced rate discount tickets for breakfast. Okay, if you're taking somebody that you want them to go to the Saturday night dinner, spouse and companion or youth registration does not to the convention does not include that banquet, so you need to make sure that you go ahead and buy them a ticket for that banquet. So, with that said, don't forget, early registration ends this week on the 15th, so please register. Yes?
How do we log in and check and see that we've got everything that we talked about?
Send an email to Joe Lysing. No. I cannot answer that, but I'm sure you can. If you send me an email, I'll check to make sure that you're registered and everything. Okay? Yes.
What's the dates on that?
The dates are in June. The
26th, 27th.
Tail end of June.
yeah, it's at the end of June.
Yeah, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th.
Yeah, I have it in my calendar. I always have to look it up on my phone calendar. And that's the way I remember it.
Any other questions on Blues Express? Okay, so in July, there's the Spring Creek Model Railroad, or Model Train show up in Deschler, Nebraska. And then in middle of July, the 14th through the 19th, of course, is Station 6, the 2025 NMRA Convention. All those details are on the website. Please check the cowcatcherdivision.org website. And then in early August, we have the Austin Train Show. Details of that are on the website too. Any questions? Okay, Mike, any AP announcements?
We do have AP announcements. A couple of things. First off, Duane, you want to make a couple of presentations, and then I'll pick up the mic again.
Yeah. So forgot them last month. Thought I'd forgot them this month, then realized I'd put them in the top of the toolbox. We have two to give out. Daryl Cowles, front and center. We're going to give you the Castro. We're going to put it against the wall and shoot you. Daryl earned prototype modeler for his Tower 55 sink. Cool. Thank you.
What number is that? What number?
Number 6, which does beg the question, why are you here? You should be at home working on 7. By the way, just for some extra prod, if you can get me number 7 and the MMR SOQ by the 20th, we might be able to give you your plaque at the convention. Just saying. See how you are. Well, in that case, just get it done whenever. Eric got his electrical.
All right, Eric.
Thank you.
There you go. Better late than never, right?
How many is that for you, Eric?
3.
It's 3, so he's halfway home. All right, so what do you have so far?
Author, volunteer, collector.
Okay, so for those of you who have heard me go through this before, you get to zone me out for a couple minutes. For the rest of you, here's some news. Out of the AP certs, there are 11. You have to get 7 out of the 11, but there are 4 categories, and you've got to get at least 1 out of each of the 4. Volunteer and author are 2 of the 3 for service to the hobby. Official is your other one. You've got to be elected to a regional position, whether that be president, vice president, one of the directors at large, that kind of thing. Secretary treasurer, I believe, is another one. But that's your service to the hobby piece. Now, electrical gets in the first of 3 of the engineering. There's electrical, there's civil, where you're actually going to hand lay some track, and then probably the funnest one of all of them to get, chief dispatcher, because you can get that by playing with your toys, which is always a good thing. The second category is what they call setting the scene. That is structures and scenery and prototype modeler. And technically the first one, but I'm bringing it up last. This is the one where it's cars and motive power, and people mostly do cars because cars is far easier to do than motive power. But you got to have 1 out of each of those 4 categories. So as you're plotting your progress down through your AP journey here, keep those in mind, because there's been an awful lot of people. My dad was one of them who became MMR on certificate number 8. Because he hadn't thought about 1 out of each of the 4 categories, and he got 7 and then realized, oh, okay, I guess I need to do cars now. So he actually got his on number 8, and he's not alone in that. There's been a lot of guys that have done that. So bear that in mind as you're moving forward. But Daryl, again, whenever you get that last one done, there is an MMR SOQ as well. I think I mentioned this in an email back to you, but print that one off at the same time. You won't have on the bottom of your certificate is an LSR certificate number. That goes on that SOQ. You won't have it for whatever number 7 is, but send that to me anyway at the same time. I'll write that one in for you when I assign it, and then I'll send those both to National at the same time, because otherwise you're sending it up, waiting a month to get it back, then sending your MMR stuff up, and then waiting 4-6 weeks for your plaque to come in and all that kind of stuff. So send it to me at the same time, and it gets processed all in one shot. So, but yeah, we've got one on the cusp of MMR back here. It'll be another addition to the group. It'll be a good thing, and very, very well deserved too. Yeah, wait till you see what he brought for show and tell. Mike, you wanted to?
Yes.
Okay, I'm fixing to put some people on the spot. Starting with our fearless leader, Mr. Brannon. How many months now have you been waiting to give me a certificate, the paperwork for
Electrical?
anything?
Probably about maybe 4 months.
4 months,
Yep.
okay. All right, so we are setting up an initiative right now, as we speak, this second, to turn in at least 5 certs next month, within the next 30 days for Mr. Richardson, okay? Yours is one of them.
I thought he had them all 5.
Well, he can, okay? We can do that too, okay? What else have you got that you can, that you're,
Well, maybe, I don't know about structures.
what about author?
Haven't done any articles other than director's report.
Dwayne?
Director's report for,
The whistle.
Well, and marker lamp.
And the market
Yeah.
lamp.
Oh, marker lamp, yeah.
those count too.
Okay, maybe I already got that.
Okay, so let's talk, okay?
Okay.
And if you need to come by the house and let's sit down and go through the paperwork and fill stuff out, pick up the phone and call me.
So if I've done about 6 or 7 structures for a town, interiors, complete interiors, illuminated, extra detail, that probably would help out on structures too.
Oh, yeah, very much so. And I mean, okay, so structures and cars have 2 things in common. You've got to build a certain number of models. It's 8 cars, it's 12 structures. Half of them have to merit. So if you've got 7 of them built now, and even if they're all kits at this point, if you get 4 of those, or 6 of those to merit, your scratch-built ones don't have to merit. They need to be capable of, should they, if it's one of those, you kind of think of like quality kind of thing. If they were to be judged, would they pass kind of thing? So the whole idea behind that is don't really do a contest job and get 6 of them to merit and then hand me 6 Tyco kits and go, here you go, we want to get them where they could pass if we were to do it. But yeah, if you've got 7, that's a good start. You'd only need 5 more.
Okay.
Now with structures, one of them has to be some sort of bridge. Now, don't read more into that than, think, okay, I got to build this big wooden trestle. They didn't have any wooden trestles. Okay. It could be any sort of bridge, a footbridge, an automobile bridge. Mike's was a bridge to go from the dock onto a car ferry. Anything that will convey you from one side to the other will count.
Spanning a distance.
Yep. So bear that one in mind. In cars, you've only got to build the 8, 4 have to merit. So it's always half of them have to merit, half of them have to be scratch built. Same with structures, but it's not, the scratch built ones aren't the ones that have to merit. Any of the ones can merit. So if you get a kit to merit, your scratch built ones don't have to. With cars, the magic thing in that one, like you had bridges under structures, in cars, one of them has to be something found in a regularly scheduled passenger train. That doesn't mean a coach. It can. It could be a drover's caboose. It could be a baggage car. It could be an RPO. It could be a diner. It could be a sleeper. It could be an express reefer. Anything that's found in a regularly scheduled passenger train. Yes, sir.
What about motor car?
If it's something that you can show on a roster where it's part of the regular train, then yeah. Amtrak's got one that runs down the eastern seaboard where you can take your car on.
Or if it was the train.
Yeah. If it's part of a passenger train, yeah.
The Rio Grande has 1.
Yeah, I think I know the one you're thinking of.
Yeah. So if you can show me on a schedule where it was, then great. I did a rider gondola for mine, based off the ones that they ran out of on the RGS during the latter years of the Rio Grande Southern. So,
And the passenger train, I mean, it can be an excursion passenger train from like the Texas State Railroad or something, okay?
Yeah.
It doesn't, you know. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
mine
Yeah,
didn't even have
exactly.
seats. I had a bench that ran down the center of it, and actually the RGS ones didn't have that, but I did it for my own prototype. So I took pity on my little HO scale people's knees and gave them a place to sit. It also gave me a nice center spot to put the weight for the car.
I've got lots of pictures of the road doors.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that little guy on there.
And the little ladder that they used to hang on the side that people would climb up and over.
Oh, no, we went from one to the other.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you could do the drop,
The
yeah, whatever.
the
But yeah.
Georgetown Loop. Hey, if you've never been on that ride, it's a short ride, but definitely worth it. Beautiful scenery, but they've got some rider gons on that are really neat. And I don't know. I think between Jeff and I, when we were up there, we probably took about 100 pictures each of that gon, just all over the place. And I have since found a set of drawings for it, so I plan on building a few of those to run on the Purgatory. So yeah.
Okay. So you're going to give me 2 certs the next 30 days, right?
We'll see. Yep.
Nope. You're going to give me 2 certs the next.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll do that.
Mr. Cranda, please stand up from behind your partition back there. What do you got that you're working on? Yeah, or step around the side.
Yeah. Come join the mic.
Well, let's see. I've been on dispatching your layout long enough, so I should be filling that one out.
I would think that you probably have gotten your paperwork together, depending on what you've got to put with the 10 hours you've already dispatched on my layout. Because you've got to have 10 hours of dispatching time.
Right.
But then you have to have other jobs to go with it. So, and the schematic and some various things there. But yeah, you could probably whip that one out pretty quick.
That one, let's see, volunteer, I would think I would.
Yep.
I'm
definitely.
way past that one.
Yep. Okay, so you're going to give me 2 certs in the next 30 days.
Okay.
All right, very good. See, I love how this works, okay? Okay, so, Mr. Stevens, you're not from a D1 thing, but you're at the D1 meeting, so I'm fixing to bust you up a little bit, okay? Where are you sitting on your, how many certs do you have right now?
Well, if I had the app that Speed is working on.
No, just,
No, that's no excuse.
there ain't no excuses here. How many certs do you have?
I could do author. I've got the paperwork somewhere. I could do author. I could do dispatch. I still like one form on that if I can find the paperwork. The problem is I keep losing the paperwork.
Okay, so here's the key on that, okay? Get a manila folder, okay? And then put it right on your desk, on the very top of everything, not underneath where it's gonna get piled on. No, but that's okay, all right? Anyway, all right, so Duane, he's gonna have 2 for you for D3,
Here's hoping.
all right? Okay, Mr. Ogden,
We can dig out of town. I can dig out some structures.
structures and author?
I've already done all
Okay, what about volunteer?
I'll have to figure out what the hours are.
We can do that.
Yep, you probably
Okay?
got that one too.
Mr. Ogden's got 2. Okay?
By the way, I want to bring up something that Mike just mentioned. Mr. Cranback here has been working on dispatching at Mike's layout. Mike, have you got all the drawings for your layout now?
No, yeah.
All right, so here's the fun part. If you look on Chief Dispatcher, it even says on there, if someone already has all the drawings for their layout, you can use their drawings. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
You still got to do the schematic,
Yeah.
but you don't have to do the drawings of the layout.
But Mike can even show you an example of what that schematic needs to look like, and you can go through and draw that one up too. And we're not talking, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to learn CAD and get a degree and draw it up and do all that. I'll take a Crayola drawing on a bar napkin if that'll get the point across, but bring me the paperwork. But like I say, if you're dispatching or you're running over at Mike's, log the hours and use his drawings. If we don't have one for what you guys have over here at the
They do.
Texas Western,
Yeah.
file that away and come up with the rest of the drawings needed for something like that. And then anybody that's in the club or operating over here could utilize those drawings as well.
And
Save you
that's
some time.
the other thing I was going to bring up when we got the dispatcher was one of the biggest problems with getting dispatcher is finding a layout where there is a dispatcher.
Yeah.
That you can do it, okay? Because a lot of HO layouts, and especially home layouts, don't have a dispatcher. They just, run accordingly. Mine does.
Yeah, he's a tough dispatcher too.
Do what?
He's a tough dispatcher on your home.
It depends on who's operating, okay? I'm tough on you, okay?
Yeah, just for you. Just for you.
Especially when you burn up cabooses, okay? So.
Ooh.
Anyway, the dispatcher, if anybody needs the final dispatcher hours, reach out, tell me, okay? We'll set up an operating session, you come in, I'll train you how to dispatch on my layout, and we'll come get that knocked out and get you your 10 hours worth of dispatching time. Don't mind at all, several people have done it. Yes, sir. Okay. John Garfield too. Yeah, good deal. All right. Let's see. Mr. Christ.
Yes, sir.
How many certs do you have? One, which is the author. Okay. I would think that you probably qualify for volunteer at this point, because just like today, if you've already got your author certificate and you're going to do a clinic today, that counts as volunteer hours. Oh, you're not going to do that? That got cut? Okay, never mind. But you've done more clinics than that, okay? Is what I'm getting at. So we can get you your volunteer, okay? So let's hook up in the next month and we'll get some paperwork together, okay? Cool. All right. Doc Walter, how are we doing? How many certs do you have? 0. Okay. As
Let's
much
fix
of a
that.
layout as you've got, okay? Number one, we can get Golden Spike immediately. I can guarantee that. Got that one. Okay, so that is one cert, okay? And then we can get you scenery. We can get you electrical. You got to do some paperwork on electrical. But you're retired now, so you've got some time to do it. Okay, all right. So there's 2 there, Duane, okay?
Yay.
All right. Let's see. Brother Gifford, talk to me. You can do electrical for me. Okay, all right. Let's see. Brother Archer, how many certs do you have? 0. Okay, so I'm thinking electrical, civil, scenery, because I can check off on the scenery you did down at in Conroe, because I've seen that. You've done more track work and scenery up here. So that if Conroe is not qualified, you don't have pictures of that, which I'm sure you probably do somewhere. But we can, hello, there we are. But I need 3 certs from you next month. Okay?
No pressure.
I'm serious, and I'm not. I mean, yeah, I'm turning the screws on you a little bit, guys, but it's just a matter of turning in the paperwork. You've already done the work. Let's do the paperwork and get it turned in. What do you say? Okay? Fair enough? Do I have buy-in from everybody that I talked to? Yes?
Yes.
All right, good deal.
If nothing else,
again,
it gets Mike off your back.
Yeah. And if you need help, reach out. That's what I'm here for. That's what Duane is here for.
Yep.
And
Happy
we're
to do
yes,
it.
sir. Mike Ross is back there. Daryl Cowles is on the cusp of getting his MMR. Jumbo, raise your hand. Okay, he's another MMR that we've got in here. So just reach out. By the way, talking about dispatcher. Brother Palmer sitting back there in the back got his dispatcher on my layout. He drove from Garland over here to get his dispatcher. Okay. And he and I worked together to put the schematic together and all the paperwork together. And it's it seems to be confusing to a lot of folks on the front end. If it is that way for you, don't feel like you're the Lone Ranger. But it's once you start putting it together, it's pretty easy to be able to come up with. All right. Now, I want to apologize to Brother Brandon for taking up some time, but it's kind of important, and I think that the AP program is very, very strategic to making you a better modeler. Yes, sir, Thomas.
What's the status on Scoop app?
I don't know the answer to that. Still under development is the best answer I can tell you. Okay? But don't worry about that. People have been getting their MMRs for years prior to his app. His app is going to help. His app is going to help, but it's not a prerequisite. So let's don't get hung up on that one. But yes, it is coming. Okay? All right. Yeah, I know you do. Everybody does. It's a great thing. Don't get me wrong. Okay? You're going to see some new things coming down the pipe. Watch for Gordy's article in June for in the NMRA magazine. I put together on my exodus. I did not get reelected, in case you guys didn't see that. I lost by 28 votes. Yep. And for those of you in this room who did not vote, thank you very much. But no, I'm joking. No, not even close. Yeah. So anyway, by the way, Trapper, do you have any certs? And why? Trapper, you owe me 2 certs. Yeah, you do. You're gonna need to give me at least volunteer. Yeah. So you're gonna see a new program coming out that's going to be adopted, I believe, by the board that I developed for a Division Excellence Award. And it's an annualized award that the division can attain that is a division level AP type award, so that the divisions across our organization are giving better programs and things to the member at the grassroots level. So it's something that that I put a lot of work into and submitted the final paperwork here this month or last month. So anyway, you'll see that coming down the pipe. Also, an estate liquidation suggestion program. Some of the people in this room have read the documentation on that, and it was received well and endorsed. So those are some things that I've been working on for the last couple of years that have been behind the scenes and going from there. So anyway, any other
Mike,
questions?
I was going to say, thank you, Mike.
Thank
Duane,
you.
You got anything else to add?
No.
Okay, so let's move into the question and answer period. Does anybody have any issues on their layout? Everything's David Crumpton.
Okay. Plastic side rails and front end rails for a locomotive, diesel. Plastic railing. Naturally, it comes black, but it's shiny and it looks like plastic. Okay, I've used Tamiya, however you want to pronounce it, to prime that, and then I airbrushed it with Tamiya flat. And while you're trying to put these on the side of the locomotive, if you're bending it, the stuff just cracks and falls off. So does anybody have any suggestions on painting plastic so the stuff doesn't crumble and fall off, Tom?
There's a product called Plasticil.
Hey, Tom, would you use a microphone, please, so
Yeah,
everybody can hear you?
I'd like to hear it, and I can't hear you from here. All I heard was Plasticil.
Yeah. Comes in a can, spray can. It's usually used in larger applications, but I don't see why you couldn't use it.
Is that what you're using?
Yeah, you can use it.
So you use Plasticil, and that makes your paint stick to plastic?
It etches it.
Okay.
And it's like a primer, plastic primer.
Okay, I'll give it a
So
try.
doesn't fleck off. Or we use also the thing I use, if I need a primer, use a acetone-based primer. And that cuts into the plastic a little bit.
Okay.
So it won't bust off.
So it's just a matter of the plastic just not taking the paint,
Yeah,
no matter how
because-
good the paint is, right?
Yeah, but most of the time you have to use acetone-based type stuff. So, because plastic is what's based in plastic,
Okay.
oil. So,
All right.
yeah, you get to cut into it, etch it a little bit
So where can you buy Plasticil at?
online.
Okay.
Amazon.
Did I have another hand? Do you have another suggestion? Thank you for your input, guys, by the way. It's a headache because in some of these kits, when especially you're doing redos or upgrades, some of that railing is gray and you want it to be black.
There's several automotive primers for plastics that are perfect for this. Krylon makes one, excuse me, Rust-Oleum makes one. It's called automotive primer.
Okay,
Obviously, clean the plastic first. You don't get fingerprints
Okay.
or finger oils off, et cetera, et cetera. Then just slightly spray with the automotive primer. It's flexible, and that should take care of it for you.
Okay.
It
Thank
do-
you.
It does come in a couple of different colors, so you could pick the one that best matches. Well, I mean, if you're painting your handrails white or red or something like that, you probably just want to use a silver or a black.
yeah,
But it's designed to be flexible, because if you think of a lot of auto body parts now, they are plastic, and this is the primer that is used.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so anybody else have any questions regarding their layout? Everything's running great in everybody's layout? So I got no issues? So everybody should be MMRs and be turning in certs to Mackey.
Yes, yes.
Okay, let's talk about tips or tricks. Duane, do you have a tip or trick for us?
If you were not here last month and talked to Brother Smith over here, borrowing Mackey's Baptist church analogy here, get one of these. They were like, what, $5? That is the biggest godsend I've run across in at least a year.
What is it? I can't see.
It is a 3D printed part that your Aleen's bottle stands up in. I've had mine leaning over in an antique salt cellar now for ages, and that's okay, it does all right, but then you've got this thing rolling around in it, and it's always in the way, but that's just awesome. If you haven't hit him, I mean, you've got 3 of them with you? 2 now. Okay, he's got 2 left, so I'm doing a sales pitch more than a tip, but that really has been handy, so.
Gary Ray.
This isn't really a excellent model, especially when you compare it to Darrow's. It's a 1990 model, laser cut, easy to assemble. It's my laser kit from hell. Because being an early model, like all the trims, like 2x8s, I'd say. If you look at the back of it, look at the trim piece here, look at the trim piece here, that's the way they cut it. And so when they designed it, they had it coming down too far, the rectangle, they knocked out. And so things like that. They didn't take into account the distance at the ends of the wood. So nothing fits because they forgot when they cut it, oh, wood has a thickness. I found that on the clear story, also on decks that were built. So what I did, I put the bad part toward the back of the layout. But what's the tip and tricks? Well, avoid that tip, they're not available anymore. But it had 24 windows, and I gave you a piece of acetate. So I thought, okay, 24 windows. So I have a dangerous tip for you. I borrowed my wife's Cricut and programmed it and knocked out the 24 windows and fit perfectly. It took me about 2 minutes. So that's I set it first to cut acetate. It didn't cut all the way through, so I reset it to cut matte. And I reinserted the thing to see if the sheet would cut in the same place. Almost cut in the same place, only offset enough that it's hidden by the window frames. So it was an easy way to cut that. Other things this kit did, the dock, they put everything lengthwise rather than horizontal for the deck. And they have, they thought they were being clever, they have 1x, 2x, 6x, all protecting material. And then, of course, it's cut too short because they forgot about the ends of the framing. So that's been my frustration. But anyway, it's done, ready to go. I'll build a new deck for it because I hate the deck that they included.
Okay, David.
After about 4.5+ years of cogitating about the latest shelf to my shelf layout, I finally got it done. I'm at 32 square feet now. Yay!
That means you qualify for scenery.
Oh, by the way, today's National Train Day, so happy National Train Day, everybody. One of the things I've always put on the shelf modules that I've had so far is a setup for a backdrop. I use lathing strips, LATH, it's 1 inch by 1/2 inch, cut about 13 lath, cut to 13, 14 inches, and I put it on the back of the benchwork, and the benchwork goes up against the wall. The problem I've been cogitating over is if I ever need to change out the backdrop, how in the world am I going to get to it? Because it's against the wall, everything's screwed to the table, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Fortunately, in 4.5 years, I finally figured something out. This is like Velcro. It's not, this isn't Velcro. They call it hook and loop. It's all plastic, but they interlock. So what I did on the lathe, however you pronounce it, the wooden stick, I put on I don't even know what this is. Oh, that was there. So I put on a piece of this plastic. Now, here's the benchwork. So this is facing out. I then take a piece of masonite. Normally you would screw masonite to whatever you're backing it to. I didn't. Now, this is snapped onto the back to the lathe. If I ever need to replace my backdrop or access it or something, all I have to do is, and it comes right off. I don't have to pull the table out, unscrew anything, etc. Okay, well, that's the masonite for the backdrop. What about the backdrop? This is cardboard, but assume you have a backdrop attached to this, whether it's, I mean, I'm not talking about you paint your walls. This is typically, you get the, like Scenic King or any of the companies who make backdrops. Put the strips on the back. Put the strips, I'm sorry.
The box was strategically placed.
You're right. Put the strips on the front of the masonite. Here's your backdrop. And there you have it. So one of the things that I had planned for, my backdrop now, it's kind of like a summer scene. What if I want to do a winter scene? Well, a typical backdrop, once it's on, nothing you can do. But now I can buy a winter scene. I can take off the existing backdrop and then just put the new one on and just change out the backdrop, and that's it. Everything is replaceable without having to pull the table out, unscrew anything, etc.
Okay.
That's my tip.
Thank you, David. David Grind, did you have something? Did you have something? Okay, Eric?
Okay. David, if I could use the downward camera here. I'm going to move Daryl's over a little bit. Out on Facebook here in the past 2 weeks, this guy posted out a thing for making corrugated aluminum roofs, and he put out some 3D files to put on your 3D printer. And so that's what this is. This is a 3D print that the guy put out there. This was his version 1, and it operates by your hand, but basically what you do is you just put in a piece of normal aluminum foil, like your kitchen foil, and then you start rolling it, and all of a sudden you've got corrugated tin roofs. And then he put out a second version just this last week that instead of rolling it with your fingers, it actually has a little hand crank with it. And the one that he put out this past week out on Facebook actually has more than just HO scale. It has N, O, I think TT, HO, it may even have S. And so it makes this wonderful looking aluminum foil or tin roof. And so anyway, and that was just an STL file that the guy put out there for free for anybody to get.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay, Trapper?
See how smart these guys are here.
All right. See that? Thank you. I've never been up here, so I don't. All right. All non-railroad guys, anybody know what this is? Nope.
Turn it out the other way so they can see the, there you go. That should give away a little.
That gives some of it away right there.
Pressure gauge at the end of the booth.
No.
That's a bigger gauge though.
Yeah, it's a larger
That's a
gauge.
larger gauge.
This, back when we had a work for the railroad, when we picked up cars, empties and stuff at a business, example Ranger, instead of doing an air test for the whole train, we grabbed like 6 cars. I put this valve on the last car and we did an air test with this. Right here, we had to drop 20 pounds of pressure down. It'd pump it up to the full pressure and then we reduce it at the engine to 20 pounds less. But this is our quickest way to get an air test for the trains. And I was cleaning up stuff in the storage building and I happened to see it. I'm starting to find all this railroad stuff I had when I worked for the railroad. So this goes to the club here, but I just was kind of curious if anybody knew what this was. But this is.
Is that still stamped TMD or UP?
No. Nope. This was made not by the railroad. This was made, an employee there made them. And a lot of us, when we did air test, even in the yard, when we was switching the yards there, we did air tests that way too. So I just thought anybody knew what these were.
Okay.
But,
Thank you, Trapper.
huh?
Okay, let's move into show and tell. Okay, David, real quick.
We're gonna pass this around so it's coming back to you.
This is what it looks like with the, I'm sorry, I can't.
Try lifting it up towards you.
Oh, that's better.
But, well, I got it upside down. There we go.
There we go.
That's what it looks like when it's attached to the masonite.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. There we go. When it's attached to the masonite and the masonite's attached to the lath strip.
Thank you, David. Okay, show and tell. Who's got something for show and tell? Shelby? Keep in mind, everybody, we got about a 5-minute, or we want to keep show and tell as brief as possible because we got a big clinic coming up. A lot of work to do.
I got one before you're done.
So, I, still kind of getting into the hobby, but, I printed track bed for in-scale dual gauge track.
So, and I've got some samples if you want to take a look at them. This isn't the only one, but I mean, there's not much to it. It's just 3 rails. But 3D printing it this way, I can kind of control my tolerances, make sure that I'm staying in gauge all the way around a curve without having to just buy several different 3-point gauges, because I don't even know that they make 3-point gauges for Z gauge.
I don't know either.
So I haven't been able to find them online, if that's the case. And that kind of helps me get around that.
So you're doing Z gauge?
Well, yes and no. I'm doing NN3. So Rio Grande narrow gauge, but in scale.
Okay.
And you thought I was insane.
Yeah.
Look, I've still got my.
Your scratch built cars.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I did have a question. 3D printing, as long as I present the files, like that counts as scratch build, right?
As long as you did the drawings.
Okay.
If you created the drawings, then yes, it counts for scratch build.
Perfect. Yeah.
Russell, you got anything? Deborah, you got anything?
So this is something I've been working on for about 3 months. It's, the title of it's gonna be The View from the Smoky Mary. I'm planning to take it to Louisiana to put in the craft stuff, and I took a picture of when we went on the Durango Silverton, and so the inside is kind of modeled after that, with the view being Louisiana, Lake Pontchartrain area. And that's it.
Very
My
nice.
favorite part is the little antique latches that I found that I painted at the bottom.
Super.
What's the name of it?
The View from the Smoky Mary.
Very good. Okay, time?
I was gonna show you guys, this is my, first layout. It's upside down. Anyway. That I'm building. It took me 2 days to frame that out. And I'm working on, God, my goodness.
That's good.
And, working on, the trackage right there is what I spent yesterday cutting out in the sun. You know, I'm using 3/4 inch plywood for tracks to sit under. That's gonna be semi-modular. So it can be taken apart and it's broken up in 4 sections. So, but that's, the legs are 1,260 pound capacity. So I think I'm okay. So.
Sounds like it. Thank you, Tom.
Planning on a lot of.
Okay, let's move to Daryl.
I'm not always good with following instructions, so Duane had me, I got started on, where'd my little charger go? Oh, it's behind me. There we go. So this is my version of the, I don't know if you can see that or not. This is my version of the deal. I don't know how we can get a hold of that, but let me hold it up here. There's my version of the shed that we're building. It's got a full interior in it. It's got a machine shop, some lathe, workbench. It's got a gentleman standing there holding the doors open. Back at the drill press, it has a 1962 Playboy fold-out pasted to the wall.
Yeah.
It's got a 1962 calendar on the wall. If you look through the side window, you can see that there's a Coke machine back over here in the corner with a broom laying against it.
17 points right there.
And the doors are, were all weathered out and everything. I found out for doorknobs, trying to find a scale doorknob is pretty hard. What I ended up using in the doors was 30 millimeter fiber optic cable, fiber optics. Stick a little short piece through your door, take your soldering iron, just get it close, and it will make a knob just exactly the right size on either side.
Yeah,
So it gives you
for a couple of years.
Huh?
The nice part about fiber optic too, I've been doing that for a number of years. The clear fiber optic, if you're doing something Victorian that has glass doorknobs, you don't even have to paint them.
Yeah. And yeah, they look like a glass doorknob when you're done with them. I built the electrical box on the end from scrap styrene and some fiber optic that I heated at the top to bend it over. The clear globe on the electric meter is from an old headlight that I turned down to make a clear globe for the electric meter. The back of the building has some steps. This is not a whole lot of care about your employees, so you got crates stacked up with some boards tacking them together on the side. Yeah, this is before OSHA. There's several litters of paper stuck around to the posts around it. The name of the business, it is electrical signal box repair, and the name of the company is EL Shorts. So EL Shorts seemed like a good name for an electrical repair company. But my weathering is not a Russell approved weathering, but it turned out pretty good. As you can see, some moron backed his truck into one of the panels and bent it up so badly they had to replace it. So you have one new panel that got pushed in there. Yeah, I'm sure. So anyway, that's yeah.
Thank you, Daryl. Very good. Very nice. Great model. Okay, let's start moving to Dealer Dud, and I want to remind everybody that Model Train Crossing is our sponsor for Dealer Dud. And also, they've got new summer hours for the store. Want everybody to be aware of those. They are as follows. Wednesday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. guaranteed. And then Avery may be working at the store Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, but just call before you go. Okay, everybody get that? Trapper?
Yes,
You ready for the drawing?
yes. Everybody got a ticket?
Has everybody got a red ticket? You should have gotten one when you came in through the door. It's a door prize.
Yeah, that's true.
No kidding. Okay, 346. 346.
There we go.
Deborah. Thank you. Box 1, 2, 3, or the blank one?
You may get it. Too complicated.
Those boxes all open. We can put a flap on that.
3 milk duds. Here are your duds. Number is 348. Who has ticket number 348?
Whoever signed in right before me.
348. I see a hand up, but I don't see a face. Mr. Palmer.
Which one?
1, 2, or blank? Okay. Blank box. Karnak says, up 2 milk duds plus a $15 gift certificate to a model train crossing.
Now you're gonna make me walk all the way down there to get you to pull the ticket.
Here, take this with you, Trapper.
Getting your steps in.
Make it from away. one more show and tell when we get down.
Okay.
Getting old's not the problem. It's the fact that warranty runs out at 40 is the problem.
That was when you were asleep. Yeah, this hearing thing,
Oh, that was 5, 6?
356.
356. Ticket number 356.
Almost. Which?
One or two?
One.
Number one has 2 milk dud packages and a $25 gift card. Yeah, hey, finally somebody wins a $25 gift certificate other than grind.
Right? And there are 2 dozen. Now pull me last ticket. 340.
He lost his ticket.
Oh, man. I made sure I got it to you.
Yeah, I know that's his number because I'm one more.
Yeah. You call it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Close
I'll give
enough.
it to you. I'm gonna have to put it around his neck.
You gotta hold on to your ticket.
We had this whole time.
He's starting to become a David Grind. That's two months in a row.
Well, how the hell?
Lift up tab. I'm gonna have to get that.
There we go.
Should get a prize for opening the box.
Apparently you should. It's a test.
Wouldn't be bad if making tape week, everybody pulls out a knife.
Here. And this should be a $10 gift certificate.
Yes. You can't even get that so.
Here you go. Congratulations.
That's all.
Okay, we got one more quick show and tell. Stu, go ahead. Stu, you're on. Stu, show and tell. Sorry, Duane.
Here you go. Thank you. There we go. A couple of weeks past, somebody passed an email about kind of a quick and dirty method for weathering, where you just mix up some paint and duck the model in it and then let it dry. So I stand up here in front of you after Darrell was here with that little building, and Russell comes in with his fancy stuff. Most I can do is stick it in the paint. However, come on, open up. Boom. The article said somewhere you could stick the whole thing in. Well, this is sliced ham or sliced turkey or whatever, and I take one of these, and you could pick your favorite color of dirt. And I was more interested in sun fade than really dirty, but you pick whatever you want. I put about a half an inch of water in here, squirt enough paint in there to kind of give you what you're looking for, mix it up really good, and when you get done, you dip it in there, dip it in one side, the other side, the end, the top, and then just put it up to dry. It's over a piece of foam. Once it's up for the dry, just touch the spots like around the ladders and the grabs and the steps with the corner of a paper towel, because the paint really accumulates in those little spaces. In the meanwhile, it's not a bad representation of faded paint, and if you wanted dirt, you can have dirt. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Stu. Very cool. Okay, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. So it's about 11:04, so 11:15, 11:14, we'll get back together again for the clinic.
All right, we do not have Mr. Rainey with us. O-scalers, where are my O-scalers? All right, I have stair stringers, I have signage, and I have shingles for everybody. So, unfortunately, the O-scale shingles have gotten all tangled up.
I hope you have some of that up.
Yeah. Holy cow.
All of these are one thing for each inch.
One for O, one of those, that, and one of these goes to each of the two O-scalers. Actually, give them two of the stringers, they can have some extras.
I only got 3 stringers.
There's not a fourth one there? Oh, that's four. And then, that's the other, I'll come out with you. O-scale.
O-scale.
Yeah, he just didn't break one out.
Who's the other O-scale?
That's weird. Okay, HO people, where are my HO people and my N scalers? Everybody come forward. Because I have parts and pieces for all y'all. Actually, tell you what, if you want to take that's my S. If you want to take the N scale stuff around, there's their shingles, there's their signage, and they get one of these. And you'll probably have a couple of extras.
Okay, N-scale people? N-scale, N-scale.
All right, HO folks.
N-scale, raise your hand. N-scale.
You get two, right? One for you and one for Deb? Yeah. And there's signs for both of y'all and stairs, at least the stringers.
HON3.
Ta-da. And Mr. David here gets one.
Thank you.
There you go.
I'm retired, I cut all day.
That, and that, and that.
Thank you, sir.
And there's your stair stringer.
HO?
HO. There you go. There's that. There's that. And I'll give you two. Any more HO? Mr. Ogden. Okay. We're going to get rolling here. If anybody else comes in or doesn't have your shingles and stuff, let me know. So essentially, well, the overhead yet? Boom. Okay. As you guys know, this is kind of what we're gunning for. So this will be our freight station. Take the roof off there. Now, your door is actually meant to be a sliding door on the side. David, however, since they are in two pieces, Mr. Cowles had his open, which I thought was kind of a neat idea. It does show that you have the option of doing either. On the end, you don't have enough room for that door to slide like a traditional freight door, so it would have to open in the, in the center. So you could have it open inward or outward, whichever way you want to float it. As we talked last month, the base that this sits on is just a wider version of the LCL dock we built last fall. I went ahead and I built mine, and then to add to it something I did on mine, and if you haven't done yours yet, I would really suggest getting some strip wood and then doing a board by board deck across it as opposed to the plywood one that comes with the kit. The plywood wood is fine. The only problem with that is you will see grain that will run across boards sometimes, depending on the sheet, and it's kind of hard to hide that. So I went with mine and I used a 1x12 and laminated that on the top after I had stained them. I used a furniture stain from Minwax for what's going to be inside the building, and then I left the outside untreated, and I did that with Hunter Line stain. I used this bottle right here is driftwood. Yep, that's right. I don't have to do that anymore. Hunter Line driftwood. This is a really nice color. Anytime you buy any of these stains from Hunter Line, they're really, really good. They've got about 3 or 4 dozen colors now. This one's medium brown, another favorite of mine. But I painted the lower portion of the dock on the bottom and everything. So as you remember, this one goes together. In scalers, you don't have to do the linear stringer down the center, mainly because they always end up cutting through on the laser because the stuff is so freaking small. But it does give you everything you need there. I painted these solid basswood. When you cut it on the laser, it seals the end grain and it doesn't like to take stain. So if you want to just leave these unpainted and stain them, you're going to have to get some fine little sanding sticks and sand down to bare wood on all those cut edges. And that's a royal pain. So I went ahead and opted to paint. I went with a buff and brown color scheme on this guy. And I went ahead and painted my base as well, and just kind of eliminates the problem. But again, you're going to have some of this is inside, some of it's outside, so the stuff that's going to be indoors will not weather out the gray like the outside exposed stuff will. So I went 2 different colors. Also note, if you're building it and you realize that your deck is about a board too long, I did that on purpose. While building the LCL dock and while here and over in D3, we had a couple of folks that didn't get the construction of it quite correct and ended up with their decks being a little short. I'm joking there. So I made the decks a board longer, and you can trim it to length. Or if you do like Daryl does, you can have the overlap hanging off the back and have the back side of your building being unsupported. However you want to play it. So that was your homework. We worked on getting our side walls painted, and I put a little bit of weathering stain on this, not just tons and tons, but a little bit. You'll note I'm cleaner at the top where it's going to be protected by the roof. I'm a little dirtier at the bottom. I did not weather this up as dirty as I would if this were sitting on a foundation on the ground, because this is now, a couple of scale feet up in the air. So it's not going to have snow piled up against it and things like that for weeks and weeks on end. The next thing to do is to also, by the way, and I don't know if I can get this to show up in the camera. Yeah, you can. You can see on the back, the piece of the window mullions that's on the back side of the glass. I did this on purpose to show this. This is a common mistake that a lot of people make when they're doing their buildings. You either forget to paint the edges of the parts, or on something like this where you've got mullions for inside and out, you don't paint both sides. And what ends up happening with that is you can see there, you've got a raw edge on the back side piece that's inside the building. The one that goes on the end, both of those window mullion pieces really should be painted on both sides, plus all the edges, just to help hide that. When I started putting this together, I realized I hadn't painted it, and I thought, you know what? Nope, that's a common mistake. Let me go ahead and build it, and I'll show it to you that way. I didn't glue this window in. I can pop it back out and correct it, so I'll do that later. But the next step, if you've got your walls painted, is we want to start gluing the building together. Now, as we've done before, we're going to do what we call the L7 method. We're going to make an L, we're going to make a 7, and then once those are dry, we'll glue those two together. As a reminder, any wall that has a peak on the exterior up here, that goes on the outside of the glue joint, meaning your side wall here glues to the back side of the peaked wall. Now, if you want to do it with a piece of strip wood and use that as a corner block, knock yourself out. I'm not a big fan of doing it that way. I built models like that for years and years. The only problem you run into is then trying to cut that angle on your piece of strip wood, because some, they're not always a 45. I can guarantee you that's not a 45. So if you get it a little bit off, now you got a gap you've got to hide. If you put the sidewall on the outside of the joint, what's going to end up happening is your roof can lay flat now, okay? But if you have your sidewall glued on the outside, what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up with your roof doing something like this. And now, now it's not prototypical. Now you've got to cut a piece of trim and mount it along this edge, which isn't prototypical, and to hide it, okay? So always glue your sidewall to the back side of any wall with a peak on it. Or you can use a corner block, and then it doesn't make any difference. Now, as you can see, I have my L and I have my 7 already done. So I can put a little bit of glue on this, and we can pop these two together. There are a number of ways that you can do, you can clamp these things together. I'm going to show you my personal favorite. There are some magnetic ones. There's a gentleman just north of Joplin, Missouri makes them, and they work really, really well. There are all kinds of different ways you can go about doing it. You can even use a Lego and a clothespin. Lego bricks are perfectly square or rectangular, depending on the shape of it, but the corners make perfect 90s, even Duplos. So I had rules with my kids. If I end up stepping on it on the floor after I get done hopping and saying dirty words and having to put quarters in the swear jar, whatever I stepped on is mine. I have a rather large collection of Legos that is in my modeling bench. And there was one year my son got in a whole lot of trouble at school right before his birthday, and his birthday present was he got some of his Legos back. That was it, because I had more than I needed. So at any rate, that being said, if you're far enough along, let's work on getting our buildings glued together. If you've already done that, we can start working on the trim. So I'm going to go ahead and glue mine together, and we'll get ready to start putting trim on this as soon as that gets a chance to dry. So for doing this, I work on the bottom of a shot glass. For those of you who have taken classes with me before, know. And then I use typically a sewing pin as a glue applicator. Another really good glue applicator, if you work in styrene and you like using these micro brushes, once you've used one of these for paint, that little foam tip dries up and becomes hard. Take your knife and cut just the foam piece of it off, and then you have a very flexible tip that becomes a very nice glue applicator. And where that really comes in handy is if you get two parts glued together and one part of it's a little bit loose and you can't get the whole joint apart enough to do it, you can get a little bit of glue out there on the end of that flexible tip and get it up into the joint, and it'll flex around however it needs to get in there. Get some glue in it, and then you can pop a clamp on it and get it to dry. Alrighty. For my needle, I went over to Hobby Lobby, told the lady in the sewing department I wanted the longest pins with the little round ball on the end of it I could get. These are designed for quilters, and ended up buying a package with several hundred of them on there. I use them not only for glue application, but I use them when I'm making trees. Any of the trees where you carve the trunk, drill a hole in it, and you put the branches in one at a time with Caspia or whatever. I drill out my trunk, and then I place one of these all the way through the trunk. Turn it, drill it, put another pin in it. Turn it, drill it, put another pin in it. If you've ever built a tree that way, you'll know my pain on this, because as soon as you drill the hole, set the drill down, take your eyes off the hole, go to find something to put it in it, you can't find the hole in it anymore. It's like it disappears. By putting the pins in it, I A, know where they are, and B, I can tell how busy my tree is going to be from top to bottom. So these are multitaskers for sure. So one of the first things that I want to do is I want to get these clamps set up. Now this is made by Kaufman Graphics. I've been using these for probably 15 years now. They are absolutely fantastic. I'm lining up my joint so that the sidewall goes onto the back. I'm going to slip this down on the inside. I'm going to kind of roughly line it up, and then I'm going to reach over it and hold it more or less in place. And what I'm gunning for here is to get it fairly close, and then you need to turn these little knurled nuts up here and clamp them down. Now, what I'm gonna do before I get them just really gung-ho tight here is I'm gonna go back and double check my joints. I'm gonna drag my thumbnail across there in both directions, and I'm a little proud here. So I need to, before, loosen this up just a little bit, and then slide it this way, tighten it back up, double check it. Still needs a little more. And what I just found out is I wasn't setting flat, which now I am. Check it now. Now I'm in good shape. I can tighten that down. Check again at the bottom. We're all good. Now that I know that that clamp is in the right place, the sidewall piece, I can let go of that one, slide it out, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put some paint on this edge of the wall. Now you'll note I got a pretty good sized glob of paint going here. And I'm going to drag it all the way down the length of it. And you might end up getting just a wee bit much. Your thumb and your finger are the cure for this. Put them on either side, just a little higher than the wall, and do this with it. And if you've got anything that's a little extra on there, it'll come out on your finger and your thumb. You can just wipe it off and move it away. So since I already know that this is going to line up correctly, I can open that clamp back up. I can slide that piece in. I can get it lined back up against the front, push it up in place, and then I can tighten this clamp down. Now, the reason I was willing to wipe that glue off, and I always tell everybody you got to be very careful about that, is I've already painted that wall, and I've already put weathering on that wall. I do all of that while the building is still flat. That way, if it's doing anything that might cause it to warp, I can put weights on it and let it dry flat. Since this already has its finish on it, or the bulk of it, you can go ahead and wipe it off. But if you reach up and wipe squeeze out off onto a raw wood piece, that glue is going to fill in the pores, it's going to seal it, and then when you go to put stain on it, it will not take stain. It'll take paint, it will not take stain. I have turned the air blue in my wood shop on more than one occasion by finding a glue spot that I didn't realize I had bumped on a piece of furniture and that I was building, and ended up having to go back and sand back the wood clear down through the glue to be able to get it to take stain again. There was one, it was so bad, I finally went back and retro designed some trim to go over it because I couldn't get it to go away. It was that bad. But you'll see here, I've got just a little bit of squeeze out. A little bit of squeeze out is fine. What you don't want is just, a big runny mess of glue coming out of it. But the trick is you don't want so little that you have no squeeze out. If you get just a little bit, you've got enough glue in there now to make the joint. If you're not getting any squeeze out at all, you're doing what they call starving the joint, and it probably will break on you at some point. There's not enough glue to hold the parts together, and they'll come loose and break apart. So on this one, now that I've got it together, I'm going to come in here with my negative tweezers, and I'm going to use that as a bit of a scraper and come in and peel that off. I do let it set up for just a couple of minutes. This aline's nice and thick, and it'll come off almost entirely like that. I still typically don't reach up there and grab it and wipe it off with my finger. I will do it with some sort of tool, whether it be the negative tweezers, which I do a lot of work with, or I'll do it with the back side of an X-Acto blade. I'm going to double check to make sure I haven't moved anything in the clamps, which if you've got them clamped down tight enough, they shouldn't be moving. Evidently, I did not have my peaked wall in tight enough, and it moved just a little bit. Alrighty, so I'm going to spin this thing around, and this becomes the little more challenging part, is we get to do this over again, but we have a bit of a fixed point now. So I'm going to line this one up. And do basically the same thing over here, checking it to make sure that I'm flush. I'm going to tighten down the peaked wall piece first, checking it for flush again, make sure it's square. And it's all done by feel. I'm going to tighten that up, pick the whole thing up. See, I'm way off. It slipped. If you're using clothespins and Legos, you can do those from the bottom and the top. You can file a clothespin down to get it to do all sorts of neat things. All right, that's better. That's better. That's looking pretty good. And like I say, I've got it loosely clamped so I can actually force the walls to move around. And you want to make sure when you're building this that you build it flat on the table. And that's the other thing. I mean, you've got to be 90 degrees in square here, but you've also got to be plumb across the bottom, because if you don't, one of the first things that we do to any structure in the contest room, and Palmer will tell you this, is we walk up to the structure and do this with it. And we push on the roof to see if it wobbles. Because if you build it where the walls aren't flat on the bottom, you'll pick up a bit of a wobble from one side to the other. Now, if you end up with this problem, you can take a piece of sandpaper, about 220 is plenty, take a little 3M adhesive and put it down to either the smooth side of some masonite, or a piece of glass is even better. What you want to be very careful of is when you're sanding it. You don't want to take it and pull it up and take the piece of sandpaper and just start doing this with it. Because what's going to happen is invariably, as you're moving that structure back and forth, you're going to be pushing down harder with your thumb than you do on your pinky, or vice versa. And what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up sanding a bevel into it, and then your building's going to lean. Set it up on your sandpaper and scrub it in a circle. Scrubbing that in a circle will take the high spots off. And what I would really recommend you do, if you've got it really, really out of plumb, take a pencil and color the bottom of the wall around the structure, and then give it a few circles on the sandpaper, lift it up, and see where you sanded through the graphite. And you can look at it and go, okay, those are my two high spots. And you just work it a few circles, lift it up and look. Work it a few more circles, and you can see your progress. And when you get down to the very last of the pencil marks, give it a swipe or two. When your pencil marks go away, you should be dead flat. But always do it in a circle. Okay, so now I've got these clamped up. Yeah. Ask me how I learned that little bit about sanding it back and forth. Oh, all sorts of upset. Yeah. The pencil thing I actually got building guitars. When you're putting the frets in, you take a Sharpie after you've got them all in. You want to take a Sharpie and color across all those frets, and then you take either a file. Typically, what I do is a sanding beam and some sandpaper, and you start sanding till all the frets are level, and you do that until you sand through that Sharpie, and then you come back in and crown them and polish them and all that. But I was looking at that going, well, if I could do it with that, I could do it with that building that I've got a little out of kilter there, and so I'm coming in now. I'm not taking this one completely out like I did the first one, because I've got that other glue joint in there, and if I try to move it that much, I'm gonna mess with that other joint. So I'm gonna come in here and put in some glue. I'm gonna slide that back up against the back stop in the clamp. I'm gonna slide that in. I'm gonna tighten that up. I'm going to double check that I'm plumb in there and that I'm down against the work surface. And then I'm going to give my clamps a final tweak, and we can let that dry. All righty. Now, the piece of stair stringer that we handed out to everybody, Scalers, I went ahead and gave you two since I had some extras. And there's more than enough in here to do your stairs. What I do not have is the treads. Some people like to do the tread in one piece. Some people like to do it more prototypically in two. This is a 7/11 typical stair stringer. So it's 7 inches up. So you've got a rise of 7 inches, a run of 11. That's pretty typical for stairs. You only need about 3 to get up there, but I gave you a nice long piece, so you'll A, have some leftovers for another project, and B, depending on how this mounts into your scenery, you can build your stairs accordingly. But the stairs are to get you from the man door down to the ground, is what it boils down to. So you can build those out at home. Just to give you an idea, I actually have come up, I found somebody had one of these available that you could buy, and I've made one on the laser. I did not bring it with me, however, but a lot of times I just use a negative tweezer like this, and I'll put another one down beside it, and I space those out. I have since gone in and cut a deal on the laser that I can put these two stringers into, and it holds them upright. And then I go in my chopper and I cut all the treads, and I put one in on the top, I put one in on where the bottom's going to be, and I let those dry, and then I come in and put the stringers on, put the treads on the rest of them. And I find that working on the top and the bottom locks the width in dimensionally, and then you can add the rest of the treads in later. So this, kind of consider that homework. Because you'll need to measure out, once you get it on your layout, how many stairs you need to get up from the ground. Now, while this is drying, let's talk about your roofs a little bit. If you've looked at your roof pieces, one side is ever so slightly longer than the other. There is a reason for this. When you go to put your roof on, if they're both the same size, when you reach the peak up here, you now have an opening. And when you put your shingles across this, you're going to see a gap up there. Now, what a lot of guys will do, and the old school way to do this, was to put a piece of strip wood in there, turned up on edge, and then you would kind of sand it back till the angles matched if it wasn't a true 45. But however, Mr. Palmer mentioned this, and I don't know if he saw it in another kid or if he's just smarter than I am, which is probably goes without saying. But he mentioned if you make it the width of the thickness of your material, in this case these are 1/32, if you make it that much longer, then you put one piece on the building just up to the peak. Then the next piece will overlap the peak and the first half of the wall, and then your eaves are both even. And you do not have a gap at the top anymore. So this will go on. I just got these taped together. It doesn't have its crown on it yet, but it'll go on like that. And you'll have the longer piece will overlap like that. Make sense? Cool. Now, as for shingles, in scalers, you have 3-tab shingles. I tried yesterday for the better part of an hour to find some settings that would work for this and could not come up with a good way to come up with usable diamond shingles in. That doesn't mean I'm giving up on it. It just means I did not have enough time to get it to work for this particular build, so you get 3-tab. Everybody else gets diamond shingles. If you've ever worked with these are kind of fun. They go together pretty simply. I laser cut everybody's shingles in white out of some drawing paper. This gives you a nice thin, very little texture. And the reason I did these in white is so that you could paint them whatever color you wanted them to be. Me doing buff and brown, I'll have a brown roof. However, if I brought everybody's stuff cut out of brown paper and you're doing a green building and want a red roof, that doesn't help you very much. So I cut everybody's in white. It's something that's easily painted. I would recommend either airbrushing it or rattle can painting it. If you really want to get tricky with it, a buddy of mine came up with an idea the other day and I've been dying to try it. But he came up with the idea of painting the back side of it black, letting that dry, then flipping it over and painting the color side and then putting it on the building. That way, if you've got any edges, you'll see the tar black of the shingle and not white or not the color. So I thought it was kind of an interesting idea. It might offer you some shadow line. But when you go to do these are in here. They've got a very small gate that you can just pull on and it'll pull them out. And you can either put these on first and then come back and brush paint. I would almost recommend you can hang the thing up with a clothespin off of a piece of line and shoot it, turn it around, shoot the other side, however you want to do that, and then let that dry and then start putting it on. But if you just want to brush paint, you can do that. For the shingles, the row of shingles is longer than the building. Okay? This is done on purpose. I want you guys to have plenty for a start. Now what you're going to want to do on the first row is you're going to put the first row on, you're going to put one upside down. This is actually prototypical, but you want to put one upside down. Or, if you want to, one of these little strips around the edge, cut that off and put that on the bottom. Painted the same way. Then when you go to put your next row of shingles on, you just want to overlap them so that the points are... Okay, so let me do that. Let me grab my knife here and let me use a strip of this instead of the okay. So if I had this and this was painted brown, which is what I'm going to do with my roof, I'm going to lay this in here, okay? Then I'm going to put my first row of shingles down on top of that. Now, typically, I use that 3M transfer tape, so I may have to put a little bit of tape on the bottom of that one, or I'm going to have to glue down my first row or two. With 3-tab shingles, you don't have to worry about this. You can just put those straight down. But with the diamond ones, you've got this relief in here that you're going to have to put down. So your first row is going to look something like that, okay? The second row, you're going to offset the points in the diamonds. Getting this to stay together when I'm not without glue on it is proving to be a bit of a pain.
You just tack that on with normal glue?
Yep, Aleen's. Aleen's will work unless you're using the transfer tape, and then you just embed it into the tape. And then, so this row.
Do you want to glue the area first before you put it on there?
I've done it either way. I've even used glue sticks before, like you give a kid to take to school and just lay the strip on top of that glue strip, put your finger on it and just pull it through and then lay it down. That works pretty good too. Yeah, here's a good example. Ba-boom, diamond shingles.
Transfer tape.
And he's done it with the transfer tape. I really like using the transfer tape because the nice part is it's 3/8 or a 1/2 inch wide, something like that. You can lay that thing down and then just peel off one row of it at a time, and it helps keep you straight moving up the wall. Because if you realize you're starting to get to that next piece of backing paper, but you haven't quite gotten there yet, and you've got a little more on the left than you do on the right, you can kind of fudge it back straight and get it lined back up straight, then peel the backing paper off, move up to the next row. So that will get you your shingles. The other thing we have to cover, other than trim, and I'm going to actually cover some of the trim today. I'm going to go ahead and start looking at building the frame piece that goes out here on the end, okay? This is super simple. It's all laser done. If you look on this one, you'll note there's some that have little engraving lines where the 45s meet. The other side does not. The side that does not goes on the inside. Then you've got this little piece right here. It has the engraved lines on one side, it does on the other. On that one, I put the engraved lines facing the end because that's kind of where I thought I would see it the most, you know? And then we're gonna have one. Now, Daryl, when he built his, he's got a space between the end of the timber frame and the building. When I did mine, I put it right up against the building. So you've got a little bit of an option there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stand up this side piece, and I'm going to take a little bit of Aleen's here. It's already skinned over, so let me open that up and reach in underneath it. Get a little bit of that glue that's still good. Put just a little dab there, a little dab there. It's like Brill cream, a little dab will do you. I'll make sure I get any of the excess off of there. And then I'm going to start in the center. And I've kind of lined it up and just eyeball it and put it in line with the post and squeeze that together and get a little bit of squeeze out there. I'm going to rotate that around. And one of the reasons why I like working with the tacky glue is now I can let it go and it'll actually stay in place and hold. Now I'm going to come in here with my negative tweezers and I'm going to scrape off that extra glue. If you let it tack up for a little bit longer, it'll actually come off a little bit easier, but since we're crunched for time, I'm trying to cover a lot of ground here in one shot. The other nice thing about these cutting mats, besides helping your work surface out, is you can use the lines to keep you straight. So like right here, I'm lining up that vertical piece, and I'm lining it up to the left of one of the straight lines, and then I've just lined that part up. So now it should be relatively straight. When I'm working at the house, I've got some machinist squares that I'll actually tuck up there. In fact, let me look. I may have those in my toolbox now that I think about it. I may have these in here from last month. Sanding sticks. Thanks again for those, by the way. If you don't have one of these, here's your little extra tip and trick. Go get you a small pair of channel locks. These are great for opening paint bottles. There we go. Machinist square. If you don't have a set of these, you ought to try to get some. They really are handy. I can bring this up here and I can slide these two together and put the whole thing in there and boom, we can let it sit up. These are about an inch. Micromark sells them, and I think when we bought ours, I've had these for about 15 or 16 years now. I think I bought it in a set. It came one that size, one a little bit bigger, and like a 3 or 4 inch. And I bought 2 of them, 2 full sets. And then I have since, through estate sales and friends getting out of the hobby and stuff like that, have been given several others. So I've got a plethora of these things now. 1, 2, 3 blocks are also very handy if you've never seen those. It is a block that is 1 inch thick, 2 inches wide, 3 inches long, and it's filled full of holes. Machinists use it for jigging things up to machine things. But because they are perfectly square, they make good weights, and they're also good for doing glue ups. I'm going to continue on with gluing this thing together. Normally I would give this a few minutes to let it dry. In the meantime, I'm usually watching TV. I've got a race on, or I'm watching the Rangers blow another one. And so I'll just pick an end, and I'm going to move my, my machinist square over here. I'm going to line this up so it's flush on the end. I'm going to realize that I just put glue and put that one there backwards, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off. I'm going to put glue on the correct end this time. That way I make sure my engraved end is sticking out. Of course, now having said that, I want to double check. Guess what? I had it the right way the first time. Okay, never mind. Wipe that off, back to the front. Re-glue the front edge. Make sure I've got it oriented the right way. Now I'm going to line this one up, and I'm going to pop that together. Give it a little bit of a push to help get the pressure, push that in, let's squeeze it out. I'm going to take my other square and I'm going to shove that joint together a little bit so I make sure that everything's nice and perfectly flush. I'm going to pull it back apart. And I'm going to let that set for a little bit and let that tack up while I grab the last one and check it for orientation. Okay, we're do a little rinse, lather, repeat over here. We're working in a shadow here, it's a little hard to see. All right, so now that those 3 are on there, I'm going to get some fresh glue on my glass. Again, if you've not seen me do this one before, I like to work on the bottom of a shot glass. Put my glue on it. If you like having it down on a work surface, that's fine. I just end up getting my hands or my elbow or my forearm or something like that into my glue when I do that. Up here, I can't do that. If I manage to knock it over, which is a trick because it's flared in the opposite, it's flared out with it turned upside down. If I do manage to knock it over, it just runs in a circle. And as long as you've got it far enough back, it won't run off into the floor. But having it up off the bench, I don't end up getting myself into my glue. If you don't necessarily want to go that route, then I would suggest using a sticky note pad. And that way, once you get enough glue built up on it, you can just peel off a sheet, throw it away. So for this other half of it, I'm going to clean off my glue tip here a little bit. And I'm going to come in very gently. Normally, I would have let this dry a little bit further. But we're going to put some glue in here. I'm going to move that back so I got a little bit on the mat. I'm going to get a little glue on this guy as well. Like I say, normally I would have let this set up for probably 15 or 20 minutes. You don't need much longer than that. I always see these guys glue these 2 parts together and then let this dry overnight. And I'm looking at that going, how long does it take your glue to dry? Building furniture and musical instruments, if it stays in the clamps more than 20 minutes, I'm using the wrong glue. Okay, so now I'm going to put this back up here, and I'm going to use this to try to help me keep it somewhat aligned. The middle one's always going to be the problematic one because I want the machinist squares on the outside to help me out with it. And I don't have, this timber frame isn't big enough to have them inside and cover the middle as well. So I'm going to bring this in here. I'm going to set it up against the edge, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a pressure squeeze. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. Line it up, line up with the edge, give it a bit of a squeeze. All right, we're gonna let that set up for a little bit, and then I'll come in and clean out some squeeze out. I'll cruise around and see how y'all are doing if you got any questions. Get a drink of water. How's it going, Dick?
Sure. The corners are not set up right on that yet, or trimmed up.
Yes.
I like the weather.
I do too. All right, everybody, check that out. There we go. Dick took his and sheathed it with corrugated sheet metal, which if you get one of those little rollers like Eric was showing us earlier, you can do that pretty easily. That's a slick look. I like that. How you doing, sir?
This was a combination of understay and the micro-art gray brown on top of it. Greenhouses.
Yeah. This, okay, so you can do one of two things. You can either leave this deck like it is, or you can come back here and trim the overhang off if you want to. Either way. If you're going to put the building on it, just don't run the building all the way out to the edge of the deck. Just put your wall for that support. So, this is a personal preference. This is like nail holes. You like nail holes and you like the look to it. You know, this is me telling you it's a personal. I'm not a fan of the tiger stripe. Reason being, all these boards will put down at the same time. The ones that are in the weather have been out in the weather the same amount of time. There's no reason why that one would be darker than this one will be lighter than that one, and that kind of thing. It's a neat effect, and I know a lot of model wearers like to use it, and if you like it, great, because this is the whole point of this. If you like it, that's it. That's all that matters. But personally, and what really got me is, because I used to do this a lot, it's like some of the kits, they'll tell you, take all your strip wood, put this in a 90% of this, put this in a 75% of this, and put this one in a 50%, let it soak in that stain, take it all out, let it dry out, mix it all up, and then put your wall together. And I did that before, and I thought, wow, that really looks cool. And then one day I was out back at a friend of mine's house, I was helping him fix his privacy fence. And it dawned on me, this whole fence has been out here the same amount of time, and every one of these pickets is the exact same shade of gray. And I stepped out into his alley and I started looking up and down the street, and you know what I found? Everybody's fence was the exact same shade of gray. So this isn't prototypical, but again, if you like it, do.
You know what's
that's the whole point of the hobby.
It's all stained the same color initially with the understain.
Yep.
When I put the other on, I still didn't pour it in the top.
Yeah.
The same amount, but because of the tube.
Yeah, some got a little darker than others and stuff like that.
I'll take some weathering powder. And,
See, I'll tell you another one you can look at doing too. And I haven't done this on mine yet. I'm gonna come back in here roughly about where I would think they would typically spot a car. Okay? And then on this, I'm gonna pick these edges off a little more, keep them up, and then I'm gonna see a bit of a straight and just a walk pattern. As you see where the traffic is, I'm gonna do the same thing off the van door and off the freight door, especially on the freight door here. I'll bring those in and I'll have a bit of a more of a weather traffic pattern built into this stuff. And it tells the story, you know, it shows that it's lived in. See, I trimmed mine off. You can leave it long if you want to, you can trim it off either way. I like to say, I made it a little bit longer so you have the opportunity, if you've got it built wrong. I had a guy when we were building it, he didn't put the braces on the inside, he moved these to the outside, and then he cut all the X braces, narrowed them up, because now his deck was too narrow. And so when he had to go back and rebuild it and everything, he's like, this is an awful lot of work. I said, well, it wouldn't have been if you had built it.
That's better too long, sure.
Yes, exactly.
You know, the trailer's too short.
And he ended up with, his deck was the wrong way. And so, yeah. How you doing, man? One of the things that I did was that hole there, if you want to, you can actually put an NEW curve. you really want the extra detail, then you can actually run you a piece of wire between the turnbuckle in there and have that for some extra detail if you want. No, looking good.
Now this is this big old.
Yeah, so, no, you're a little
bit bigger.
Yeah, so then what I would do is I would either take your knife and cut this one board off. If you want it flush. If you don't want it flush, then space it a little bit proud. So you want to make sure that when you're setting this on here, that it's setting over the
That's right.
back here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to let it stick out past the edge, half a board is great to do that. Just make sure that your wall isn't all the way out to that edge, because then the backside of your building isn't supported by it.
Yeah, this is just.
Yeah.
You notice like this looks like a derby. So it came out 30% light.
Yep.
I really like that effect.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Well, I'm gonna actually find this inside and put the wax and put log.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. Yep. I think that piece of Durallar and line them up.
When you're gonna get plastic for windows?
There shouldn't have some in your bag. Seriously?
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, you use acetate or Durallar. I like Durallar myself. Just because the reflectivity on that is good as glass and it's crystal clear. A lot of the acetate, you can see fibers kind of running through it, so it's not perfectly clear. I used to buy the Hobby Lobby, they couldn't carry it, so I ordered it on Amazon. Durallar. D-U-R-A-L-A-R. Durallar. And what I would do is, you two go together and you get a couple, 3 friends and order a package and then split it, because it's gonna be more glass than you're ever going to need. Another option, if you want to make windows with something that's readily available, when you buy a product that's in a blister pack, if that's flat, you can use that. Typically though, that's got some graining in it as well. It's usually a little bit big with that Durallar. You can get pretty low 5 mil. I use 5 because the 3 is a little wavy. And if you don't get it perfectly flat,
How do you spell that?
D-U-R-A-L-A-R. You can get it on Amazon.
That's 5 mil.
Yep.
And that's a lifetime supply when you
Oh,
buy
it
it.
is for a fact. Like I say, get together with a couple of 3 of your buddies and order a pack and split it.
Yeah.
It comes in either I think it's 8.5 by 11 sheet, or you can buy it by the roll. I buy it by the roll because the roll is 2 feet wide.
Oh, yeah.
And that fits my laser. So I just put it on my Mac cutter, roll out 12 inches, cut a strip off, throw it in the laser, and then I cut window glass out there. But for what you guys are doing,
Faster
if you order it
internet
separate, I get the sheets.
Does the
Because
faster
it does
internet
have a bit
help?
of a memory to it. Very much.
How many sheets will you use on the parts?
I don't know. I've always bought by the roll, so I'm not sure.
I'll let you know.
Like I say, get a lifetime supply of glass. It really is.
You stack those 3 window pieces in the
I actually
If we
pull them
do-
all out, and then once it's dry, then I it should be ever so slightly smaller than I'll say the box that I make. So I replicate the box and then I throw the things into it. And then I'll take that and curve created by cutting this out. And I'll actually narrow it by valves over it.
Yeah, just want to just feed that overhead camera straight in.
That's if you want to slide in really easy, take your file of those little sandy sticks and just pass or so around the office. One of the things that happens is if you think about the way a laser works, it's installed and it's an equilibrium light that goes through. It's not a solid beam either, so it's not like a big long cutting solid, beam of light. At least what mine does is it has 3 settings: power, speed, and pulses per inch.
And how are you doing?
You can tell it how many times it's going to fire in each inch.
Cool.
Here's what I'm starting.
Around is 200 pulses per inch.
Oh, yeah.
The most
Exciting.
I'm
But yes, it's around a mine, isn't it?
Yes, and the mine's got is corrugated too, so.
Sure.
That's what I try, plus I don't need all the man doors and stuff like that, so. Kind of cover them up. But I love your structure. It was fun.
I
I enjoy working on you.
I don't know, I really debated whether to put rafter tails in there, and they still go back and put rafter tails in the part of the buildings. But the rest of it, I just have the furlings, you see underneath the tent. That's to keep it from tearing the birds out. Which are really just, that's one of the reasons we use. Sometimes, little things, we're gonna go, yes, okay, where'd they go?
Yeah, and then trying to find them. It's like crazy.
Well, I put,
This right here is actually.
that bolt washer.
One back.
There should be enough there to get you up over the lakes, you'll have some overhang on the other side, you should have a row of stuff.
Me too. I've never done that.
Yeah, real chip, yeah. They have to crown the roofs with all sorts of options. Very good. They're a lot asking, Russ a lot asking if you needed any help.
Well, he has got, I got some questions. Talked about.
Not the new one, the other.
What I did, I got four.
Not as much.
It's going to get wet. It will wet. You're gonna start seeing more grade on it?
I think you.
Yeah, it'll be an outlaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after I'm there. But,
Does she have two windows in hers? I'm still trying to figure out how the hell that was different.
It's all in one sheet.
Yeah, it's all in one sheet.
Just telling you.
That's weird.
Anyway.
Okay.
All the time.
Oh, yeah. Making sure it's for years. Yeah.
But now, heating shears make kind of rounded off.
Yeah, shears.
Some are pretty
Most of them are pretty sharp.
Are they? Okay.
So the problem is, if you look at diamond shingles, they're actually not down to a complete point. There's actually a flat spot on them, so they come down, it's like that. Yep. I grew in there.
Someone started grabbing and snatching.
What's going to be underneath the next room? Okay. And you guys are the guinea pigs.
Richardson?
Yes.
Duane?
Sorry.
You got just a split second.
Yeah, give me a second. I got to answer a question. I'll be right there.
Yeah.
I'm going to cover a couple of things.
I take 121. Yeah.
This field behind this.
Did you put them on? Oh, chart. Yeah, yes. Okay, so what you do is you cut your seat in strips. You jump in rows, right? You take chart tape, a piece of chart tape that has width, so you want exposed. Okay, you start at the bottom edge with a piece of chart tape. You kind of measure up, leaving that same width exposed, put another on chart tape. Measure up, chart tape, measure up, chart tape, all the way to the top. So then up was this example actually. Then what you're doing is you got chart tape open space.
They show. Yeah.
Chart tape open space.
But I've got it.
Cut. So
Covered it with aluminum. Well, this, I'm waiting for this, and I didn't put enough stuff to make it squirt, so I used the leg dry. I'm waiting to hear how they do the trim of the wood. No, that's the rusted galvanized. This is mine. This goes about coal line. Corrugated. So it's just to make it fit. That's just a block I got. Yeah. And when I saw this in my toolbox, I used that. I don't know.
Well, because of my,
That's all of ours.
it drives us crazy. What's this for? I don't know. Why do you still have it? Because eventually I'll know what it's for. And invariably, the moment I throw it out, the next day I'm going to use it.
Yes, and that's the way it always is. I've never seen it wearing it.
It's not like a lightweight something. It's a come summer, he's got the electric blanket. In the winter, I'm on the
That's exactly different from what I'm designing. Cold one, so I'm always freezing. In the wintertime, I got extra, I can do some of those clothes.
It could be minus 20 when you're sweating. That's like, I don't know, I just. Well, she makes a friend, she makes a cousin, what she's salivating with chops now. We've got great my nephew as a baby. So, great nephew. Your nephew's children. He's got a 5-year-old daughter, and his brother just found out it's just his wife. So, it's part of the world. But nobody knows. It's a nursery. Find out what it is. So I know, make blue or pink, kind of a thing. Yeah, I can't wait to make great happy. The kids. You know what? My daughter.
She can do this well.
All right, guys, we're going to do a couple of quick things here, and then we'll call it. All right, last little bit. I'm going to move this out of the way. Now that it's dry, I can pull this out of the clamps. Now, what I would suggest you do is go ahead and finish trimming out the doors and the windows. I stacked up, I only used one of the man door interior pieces, just painted it front and back, but you can use both if you want to. But as you can see here, well, as you can't, can I get the overhead? set my water down somewhere.
Right here. You gonna talk about how to trim out the doors?
Yeah, I'm gonna do one here real quick. All right, so I went ahead and trimmed mine out inside and out because I am gonna come back and put an interior in this one. So let's talk about trimming this out. Literally all this is you get an up and over piece. You put a little bit of glue on it after you've painted it and the edges. And then I come in and I line that guy up at the bottom and at the top and glue that in and let it dry. Then for your doors, you'll note that one side has a bunch of grooves in it and they're set up so that they meet and make a bit of a X pattern, chevrons basically.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't focus in enough to show the chevrons.
I know I already finished mine, but I want
Oh,
my
yeah.
shingles.
Well, take you a signs
Okay,
and,
what, I get one sheet?
yeah, one sheet. And take you a couple of stair stringers too, just for giggles.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
So I'm building these so that they'll open kind of like what Daryl did with his. And, but you can make them all one piece, especially this side door. There's enough room there for that door to slide open. So you can do it that way if you want to. On that one, again, just paint and glue it together. Put the trim over it and it's all set up and it will fit perfectly into that hole. Now you'll note one side of this thing is smooth. So if you're going to have your doors open, whatever side is most visible, put the side with the chevron stripes in it, put that so that that one's facing the most visible side. So if you've got the door cocked open and the way it's going to sit on the layout, you're going to see the open door have those chevrons facing the aisle as opposed to not. If you're not doing an interior, you do not have to stack the whole thing up and frame it inside and out. You can use one backer, one piece of trim, and just do the outside and put your blackout paper in it, okay? When you go to glue this whole stack together, you'll take the end that doesn't have the engraving on your timber frame and you're going to glue that right up against the building, but once you get all the trim on it. So you'll note you've got these 4 pieces here and these 4 pieces here on your trim sheet, okay? These that have the little points, that's the corner trim for the peaked wall. The flat ones go on the opposite side. Yes, technically they are just a wee bit thick, but that's to hide the thickness of the wall. But once you've got the trim and everything on there, you can come back in and glue your timber frame to it. Your trusses all get painted the trim color, and just like we did with the timber frame, one side has detail, one side doesn't. You're going to glue those trusses in right over each of those, side-to-side braces. So you're going to have one right up against the peak of the building. You're going to have the next one in the center. You're going to have the next one out on the very edge, and that'll support your roof, and it will recreate the peak on the structure itself. Okay? Now, if you're not doing an interior, I would highly, highly suggest you put some bracing on the inside of this thing. I always brace mine after I've got the thing together instead of before, because inevitably you'll try to get slick with it and you'll try to put a corner brace in there and you'll end up with a corner brace here and a corner brace here, and you go to put it together and now it won't go together. Now you got to cut one of them off, and you're putting more money in the swear jar.
That's happened before, maybe?
Yeah.
I've had that happen to me too.
Yeah, and a lot of kit people will tell you, here's some of the kits, like Foss, I think, he actually puts your bracing material in the kit too, I think. And they'll give you instructions on here's where the bracing goes. It's great if you're not putting an interior in a structure. If you're putting an interior in a structure, then you got to rethink your bracing altogether. If I'm probably going to go back in and cut different trusses, because these are timber frame type trusses. I'm going to cut regular construction, normal trusses in here, and I'm actually going to put a notch in them, and that will hold these side walls straight. Okay? It also gives you your rafter tails. Exactly. You can come in and do the rafter tails after if you want to, but I try to do those all in one shot. In fact, on some of the kits going forward, I'm probably going to put a notch in the top of the wall and give you the rafters so you can just slide the whole thing down in it and go that route with it. I got a buddy of mine that I'm working with on coming out with some extra kits. We're going to call the Rattlesnake Gap line, and he did that on one of his buildings, and I'm like, well, heck, that's genius. All right, last is our signage. You have 2 of each sign and 2 of each size of the little Railway Express Agency diamond if you want to make this a Railway Express Agency. My thought was the black sign here could go along this wall because it's facing out. Okay, typically this is going to be sitting here, you'll be parking your freight cars here. This is a small enough structure, you could have the cars spotted behind it without any problems. There's not a lot of roof detail, it's not real tall, you could reach over that and grab a boxcar if you needed to. So this would be a caveat to that, have your rail on the aisle side of something like this, you could get away with it. If this is going to be facing the aisle, then I would put that Railway Express sign out here. If you're turning it around and having it face this way, I would still put that black sign on that man door side, mainly because you don't need a big sign that says it's an REA, telling the railroad guys it's an REA, they already know, okay?
You can put a big sign a bit above the window on the end.
You could put it there. My thought is that I'd use one of the diamonds to put it over that. The other option too is you have the fast dependable through freight, and then you also have this one up here that's from World War II. And he's cut himself on the crate, but it says, be careful, don't become a war casualty. I gave you duplicates of everything, so you have a chance to play with a little bit of weathering, and if you monkey one of them up, you got your pick of which one of them you like the best. If you really wanted to get wild with this and make these look like they were painted on, you could take this and turn it over, take some 220 and sand the paper till you start seeing the ink on it, then put little aliens on the back of it, put it onto the building, and then you could press it in and then take your finger or a backside of a knife or something that won't cut it and groove it down into it. That's a really neat effect on like clapboard siding and things of that. If it's for something like this, that little diamond is probably a porcelain sign. Same with the REA, the rectangular REA, the black one. These others are probably posters, so you could glue those on however you wanted to, but I gave you duplicates of everything, so you've got plenty. If you have any questions when you get home and start working through the rest of this, we've kind of cut these last 2 meetings a little on the short side. But if you've got any questions, hit me up. My contact information's on the LSR website on the officers page. I've got my cell phone out there, I believe, and my email address. I will warn you, I don't check my emails every day because I work with email every day at the office. So I had one of the guys over in D3 chew me. I said, you ought to be checking your email more often. I said, you're in insurance, weren't you? He said, yeah. I said, when you got home from work, did you grab your ladder and walk around the neighborhood and offer to get up on people's roofs and look at them? He goes, well, no. I go, dude, I work with email all day long. I don't want to see more emails. So I look at my email about once a week.
Ignore my email.
All righty.
Thank you very much.
Any follow-up questions? If you have anything, you think of something, hit me up, let me know.
Great job. As always.
You are welcome. Thanks, guys.